my own personal experience of this is where I've been in a class where we've been doing the set program, and there was one or two guys who were absolutely hammering it, smashing it out of the park. And there were a few of us that were, yeah, we're doing okay, but we weren't getting the same results as the top two guys. But there were always the couple that came along and then didn't come back. And I used to think about that and what is it? Is it I'm defective, I'm not as good as them, or what was, oh, they were wrong, they couldn't stick with it, couldn't stick to the program. And I came across this concept of the bell curve, and I'd seen this about a research study, and they said they tried the same plan with everyone. It was based on the science, 3 sets, 10 reps, several different exercises, well written about in the science as a way to get stronger. But when they mapped out the results over, I think 200 or 300 different people, what they found was that there was maybe 5% who did really, really well, had really big strength gains. And then there were the masses in the middle that did okay, nothing spectacular, but yeah, they got improvement. But there was also 5-10% at the bottom end that actually got worse. Now, the conclusion of the authors of the research study were that there were genetic super responders and genetic non-responders, or they might not have used the term genetic, but there were super responders and non-responders. And it was if the emphasis was all on the individual of whether it was going to be a success or not, it was down to them. What they didn't ask the question, what question they didn't ask was the plan appropriate to the same extent for everyone? Let me give you an example. One person's broken a leg and the program includes deadlifting. Is that person going to respond to deadlifting 100 kilos, whatever? They can't even put weight on their leg. At that extreme end, it's easy to say that's not an appropriate program for that person. But what if there's something that's not quite so obvious to see? A muscle strain, a tightness down one side that means you can't do the exercise symmetrically. What if there's anxiety, tension in the body of that person's time? There's something going on in their life. They're going through divorce, or they've been diagnosed with something, or they've lost somebody and their mind's not on it. They've got tension and stress going on. Are they going to get the same results from that program? Is it their fault? Or was it that the program wasn't right for them? And that's where I've come from. And I came across this idea and have now worked my training in that way. The majority of the time. Sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. But when I train like that, I feel great afterwards. I can go on and do stuff, and I can get up and train the next day. And it's keeping me going. You may have seen the meme on Facebook or whatever, the assessment. You've got an elephant, you've got a goldfish, you've got a giraffe, you've got a chimpanzee. You're getting assessed on climbing this tree, and your whole future depends on it. The chimp's sitting there rubbing his hands together. The fish and the elephant are just looking at each other, and the giraffe's wondering, well, does it count if I just nibble something from the top? We're being assessed by one tool, and clearly it's only suitable to the chimp. And I feel that fitness programs are a bit like that, and it's not taking into account our individuality. And it's obvious why. It's difficult, we think, to actually work groups together, sell a product that says this is the plan. We've also grown up believing we should be told there is a plan for us and stick to the plan. If you don't stick to the plan, it can't work. But if the plan isn't appropriate for you, it can't work either. So yeah, I think that's a big issue. So maybe I'll start off with a current example using technology that most people will know about, heart rate monitors. We might say the plan might be run at 7 miles per hour. mile repeats. But for Mo Farah, yeah, it's a walk in the park almost. For me, that'd be quite a strain. I don't, that's hard. I'll be working at the top end of my aerobic ability. He'd be working at the bottom end. How did they get around that? They created this idea of heart rate zones, and that when you got into the heart rate zone, that was the intensity that they were looking for. That's how fast you run. So for me, that might be 8 or 9 miles an hour. For Mo, it might be 5 in the example we've just been given. So that's using technology. So that's a form of biofeedback that most people know. Another form of biofeedback that we actually use is range of motion. And a really good example of this is when you've been sat down in a chair for a couple of hours, you get up, you're stiff, you're aching. Why is that? Well, a way of interpreting it is that actually sitting down in the chair wasn't great for you, and your nervous system has tightened up, your tensions come into your body. And you probably know that this is true because when you start walking around, you loosen up and you can do more things. So we use this principle in choosing our exercises. So we actually test each exercise to see what immediate effect it has on our nervous system and then work with it from there. You still have a choice. If we go back to the broken leg example, it makes extreme sense to cut out certain exercises, but further along the continuum, it becomes less obvious, and maybe you have a goal. Maybe you want to deadlift 200 kilos, maybe you want to run a marathon and you think you have to run. But what if by actually running at that individual workout, you're damaging yourself further? 70–80% of people injure themselves each year training for endurance races like marathons. So if you are capable of doing the exercise and it tests negatively for you, you can do it, great. And I think it's good to try that and then see what the consequences are, experiment with it, play with it. I personally have found that I do better and more consistent, feel better after my workout straight away by asking the right questions of my body, what exercises to do. I end up not having to work in pain. I'm freer and looser for the rest of the day. And my progress day on day, week on week, is much quicker and much more effortless.